guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today's video, I'm trying to brace myself. So today we're going to be talking about a case with two child influencers. Now, the sole fact that the term child influencer exists and that child influencers exist is very troubling to me. I'm not going to go in depth about how I feel and why, but the basic gist about how I feel about that is that most of the time when I think of child influencers, I think of Murphy's Law, and I just think something terrible is going to happen. Now, obviously, I don't want something terrible to happen, but in a lot of those situations, we see that they're being exploited by their parents, they're being exposed to people they should not be exposed to, they're being put in danger in certain ways because of the creepy people that lurk online. I was just thinking about this before filming, and I was like, the thing about child influencers is that aside from other children who are around the same age who will follow those child influencers, I'm like, who else is following them, you know? Because it's hard for me to believe that their entire demographic is just, 8-year-olds or someone of their same age. I have to think that part of that demographic is probably pedophiles, especially child models. That's really where I get even more creeped out, because I'm like, these pictures should not be on the internet. So there's this case that caught my attention where there is a child model who is 8 years old, who has a boyfriend who is also an influencer who is 13 years old. And they're in a relationship, a public relationship. So I wanted to read an article that discusses what exactly is going on, because frankly, all of it just leaves me with question marks. Child model 8 weds influencer 13, sparking outrage in Ukraine. A mother has been questioned by police after she staged a wedding between her 8-year-old daughter and another 13-year-old blogger. Mila Maxinets and teen Pavel Pai, Ukrainian child influencers, reportedly began quote-unquote dating with the full support of both their parents. Their parents have both claimed they didn't see any problems with the new living arrangements and have denied trying to cash in on their offspring's fame. Mila has more than 516,000 followers on Instagram, while Pavel has more than 50,000. The thing that I also am concerned about with child influencers that I should have mentioned is the toll on their mental health. Now, I don't know how much their parents really manage the accounts. You can't really ever know. The type of toll that internet can have on your brain, especially as someone who is followed, who will be critiqued, who will be hated on, those are things that are very difficult to process. And I know that all of us here, adults, have the kind of understanding that when you sign up to do some kind of public job, whether it's on TV, social media, whatever, you will have hate coming your way. Not critique, I'm talking about hate, like people just trying to be mean and not actually constructive criticism. When we choose that, we signed up for it, like it sucks that that's the reality, but that is the reality in fact. Whereas these children did not sign, like you can't possibly expect an 8-year-old to fully understand what hate is and what the toll that it's going to take on their brains. So I'm also concerned about that, because I know there are certain times where it's taken some tolls on me, because like there's certain things that will hit a nerve, there's certain things that will make you fear for your own safety, there are things like that that will come up that I just can't imagine an 8-year-old or a 13-year-old for that matter having like coping mechanisms for. Getting to the root of the issue here, having these two kids live together as if they're adults, it's alarming to me, because it's like, it's normal for children to have their crushes and have their little boyfriend. Like, that's normal, that's fine, that's healthy, that's completely normal. But what's alarming to me is them living together is kind of like, what's the term for the opposite of infantilizing? It's kind of like putting this adult connotation, this adult veil on top of their relationship, which it's not. And it's alarming because I already think that these children are probably being treated more like adults than children, considering that they might very well be the ones making money for their families. So they're already taking on a role that is breadwinners of the house potentially, which is already a pretty heavy burden to carry, let alone when you're put in this position to be in a quote-unquote relationship at that young age and living together, like playing house. I don't know. It's all overall too much. You guys can let me know in the comments, because frankly, I don't know how children function. But I know that when I was 13, I would never look at an 8-year-old and be like, oh, I want that person to be my boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. Like around 13, you know, I was only attracted to people close to my age. Like I said, I don't know how children work. You can let me know. So then it says, the outrage comes amid local media reports claiming the parents have encouraged the children to now live together in the Ukrainian capital of Kiev and take provocative photos, including a recent post which showed them chained together for 24 hours for a challenge. See, now this is exactly also why I'm afraid for child influencers or child models, child anything that includes some type of job. There's always this underlying creepy factor for me of like, who are the parents catering to here? The sole fact that they were encouraged to take provocative photos, to me, that's, well, nauseating, first of all. But again, it's hard for me to believe that the parents don't know what they're doing when they want their kids to take these provocative photos, because yeah, you're going to cause outrage, you're going to cause yourself negative publicity, which I think is probably what they were going for, I hope, because that's the least worrying of all these scenarios. But the other thing is, like, who do you think is going to be looking at these provocative photos? You are actively putting your children out there for pedophiles, because those are the only people who want to see provocative pictures of children like that. Nobody else. Nobody else. The wedding announcement caused widespread anger and concerns over the danger the influencers could cause to other children. After announcing their relationship and posting photos with their arms linked in chains, people called for their social media account to be blocked and for officials to step in. Comments have now been disabled on Mila's Instagram account. The parents were also criticized for encouraging the young bloggers. Local reports claimed Mila's mother has been questioned by the police over the photos, and prosecutors have opened a criminal case regarding the alleged distribution of pornography. I genuinely hope that there were no provocative pictures. I really hope that that isn't true for the sake of the children, because I already feel like they probably have gone through enough just having that kind of following at such a young age. And that kind of responsibility too, is making money for your family, that being that young, that's just a lot to put on children. It's not safe, it's not fair, and it's not really an active choice they make. It's hard for me to think that an 8-year-old would choose to be a partial or maybe entire breadwinner for the family. Having an Instagram, being an influencer, perhaps, but the rest of that, no. Penalties for illegal pornography range from being fined, placed under house arrest, or being given a prison sentence. Mila's father has also commented on the situation, saying he's outraged. The father, who has been divorced for 2 years, claimed the mother is using Mila as her main source of income now. It all just seems perverse and unnecessary, because I think you're taking something that is entirely pure, like childhood crushes, childhood boyfriends and girlfriends, the pureness and just like silliness of it all, really. That's something that's supposed to be looked back on fondly and, you know, think that you were silly, or how funny it was, how awkward those things were. Like, I remember certain things of like when I was 13 and my crushes and how awkward it was, and how like you were official if you held hands and had lunch together or some shit. And it's, you know, but it's funny because it's not heavy, it's not turned into this thing it's not. And here it's just turned into this adult relationship, which it just isn't, on top of them already being treated like adults as moneymakers for families. The whole thing together is just disappointing, because you can see a way where this could have all been a positive experience, but it's being turned into something it's not. And aside from that, I think, you know, it goes back to what I kind of started this video with about child influencers generally. If there even is a way for a child to be an influencer without, you know, being traumatized, without having negative effects on their mental health, like, I don't know if that exists, because I try to think about it, and I just think there's so many parameters you'd have to put in place for it to continue to be a good experience, you know, from the parents managing the account to even deciding what is appropriate for the children to do or not, because you don't want to impose jobs on your child, like sponsorships or whatever, on your child, and you don't want to turn it into something they don't enjoy. I think those are factors that might be very hard to determine as well. So even when I want to think of, you know, let's think of a way in which this could be beneficial and not just damaging, it's really hard for me to imagine. So overall, I generally just wouldn't want children doing that at all, just for their own safety and mental health. But you guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always. Let's get right to the fan art.